So this is all obviously messy. We need some clarity here, which is why we have plugged in well-connected analysis tonight. Joe Wine-Banks is a former Watergate prosecutor, and Jane Torrance is an editor at the New York Post. So thank you both for joining us tonight. I am fairly sure you both have a lot of questions as well about exactly what is going on. But Jill, I wanted to start with you, if I may. We have heard the former President Trump compare this to the break-in at Watergate. You were a Watergate prosecutor. In how many ways is this not that?
It is not that at all, because this was a search warrant that was granted to the FBI as a result of establishing probable cause of two things. One, that there was a crime committed, and two, that there was evidence that could be obtained at the location specified in the search warrant. The Watergate break-in were not federal agents. They were people hired by the president's committee to re-elect and the White House. They were paid by campaign money to break in illegally into the headquarters of the Democratic National Committee to put in illegal wiretapping bugs. And so it was a crime for them to enter. It was not part of our judicial system and part of our law enforcement. Very, very different thing. And there was no evidence that there was any reason to go into the DNC. But if there had been, it couldn't have been done by the burglars. It would have had to be done by law enforcement.
So when you talk about a search warrant, I don't think, for people who are sort of history buffs a little bit, you look back on history on this day in the 70s, Richard Nixon leaving office. When you think of Richard Nixon, a search warrant wasn't executed on him. There was a subpoena. Why no subpoena in this case?
There was cooperation in the beginning. If you remember, 15 cartons of documents that had been illegally removed from the White House, some of which were highly classified, so classified that we don't know exactly even what the level of classification was, because the level is classified. So that was obtained by the FBI going there and getting them without a subpoena and without a search warrant. I'm guessing that negotiations broke down and that the former president refused to allow them to take any further documents, but that after a review of the ones that were already removed, the archives identified additional missing documents. The other thing is, we don't know that only documents, that only violations of the Presidential Records Act are at stake here.
So your point about we don't know is sort of the salient one here. We can all speculate. And to that end, Jane, the moment you heard this happen last night, within Republican circles, what were you hearing in terms of a reaction? What are you still hearing?
Yeah, there was, of course, a lot of shock, Adrienne. This is almost unprecedented, having a very recent president and possible presidential candidate, of course, in 2024. But I think this could backfire. We're already seeing, for example, Donald Trump is sending out fundraising emails, trying to fundraise off this. And I have to say, it's not even just among Republican circles. Even many Democrats are shocked and in some ways dismayed, concerned about this raid. I can tell you, former Governor Andrew Cuomo here in New York, not a Trump fan at all. He actually tweeted out today that DOJ must immediately explain the reason for its raid, and it must be more than a search for inconsequential archives, or it will be viewed as a political tactic. So even someone like Andrew Cuomo, who has no love lost for President Donald Trump, he's questioning what happened here in the timing. And so both Republicans and Democrats are surprised and really demanding some answers, none of which, of course, we've gotten yet from the DOJ or Attorney General Merrick Garland, who would have had to have signed off on a raid of a former president.
So, Jane, when I hear you talk, it sounds as if Donald Trump and his group are saying, oh, actually, this was a good day for us politically. Curiously.
In some ways, yes, Adrienne. It certainly helps him with the martyr complex that he sometimes likes to go through. But it also shows in some ways, I think, that is there evidence to indict Trump on any actions that he took on or around January 6th. And I think this is a bit of a fishing expedition on the FBI's part. The Democratic Party and Attorney General Merrick Garland are facing a lot of pressure from the Democratic base to indict Trump. I think they're looking for something they can use. And I think that shows that they don't have any hard evidence in hand yet to bring down an indictment.
But the core implication of what you just said, though, is that this is a politically motivated act, that this is not the DOJ, Department of Justice, acting independently, that this is driven by the Democrats in the White House saying it knew nothing of this until it saw it in public reports. So, Jill, I'm wondering, like, how important is it to make that distinction, and what next steps do we need to be looking for?
So first of all, there is a clear policy and a good reason for the Department of Justice being different than any other cabinet agency, for the Department of Justice being independent. And policy can be set, but no specific targets can be set by anybody in a political position. There should be no coordination, and there isn't any. There was during the Trump era, and that was something that was much complained about. In terms of the fundraising, I don't see that as a good thing. I don't know exactly why they chose to do it at this particular minute, but if there are secret documents that could endanger our national security still there, that would certainly be a reason.
Well, it's certainly extremely messy. Emotions are fraught, and as you both said, we actually have no idea what they were looking for, so we all need a little bit of patience. Jill Wine-Banks, Kelly Jane Torrance, again, thank you both very, very much.
Thank you.